We are so happy to have all of you here on our next Lunch and Learn. And I'm Christine Monroe. I'm the Vice President of the Immaculate Heart Community. And I was able to just give a couple people a tour. We just moved here last year to St. Paul's we moved from the corner of Franklin and Western, which probably a lot of you know, that's Immaculate Heart High School. And we were on that spot for 106 years, right? So in the course of selling the land to the high school, and we found ourselves here at St. Paul's, and we are so thrilled because it's actually a retreat center. You know, we have this lovely room to have meetings, so we're very, very happy to be here. So let's see about you. So how many, I talked to a couple of people, said, this is my first time here. So raise your hand if this is your first time at a Lunch and Learn. How many? Oh, wow. Wonderful. Welcome. Okay. How about how many of you are returning, have been at one or more other Lunch and Learns? Oh, good. This is good. And how about, I'm just going to ask Arnali's team to raise your hands. So right over here, our presenter is right here with her team. And then the Immaculate Heart community members, please raise your hands and look around. So we have a couple. So we are happy to tell you about our community. And on the table, there are some information sheets, you know, if you'd like to learn anything about the community, please do look into that. So I'm going to tell you just a teeny bit of our history. Just last year, we celebrated our roots of 175 years was the start of the Immaculate Heart Sisters Order. And that was in Spain. And I think you're really gonna hear resonance that at that time it was a priest, Father Masmicha, in Spain, and a woman who recognized that the children and the women in their city didn't have education, care, and so they started, and it eventually became an order, but they started a group to teach the children and care for them. So I bet you might hear a little resonance with your work that you do in your organization, because through the years, then in 1970, many of you know, how many of you have seen Rebel Hearts, the film Rebel Hearts? Please do look it up. And it's the story of in 1970, how we became what we are now, how we became the Immaculate Heart community, which is we are now an ecumenical, inclusive community. And so the film, those of you who have seen it know it's pretty exciting. You know, it's like I was there at that time. I had Corita Kent, those of you who are Corita fans, yes, I was lucky to have Corita Kent as an art teacher, and has profoundly affected my entire life. But as we've moved along through the years, I want you to listen to whatever organization you belong to, or if you've come here as an individual, see if this resonates with you. So our goal statement is that part of it is that we commit ourselves to foster access to all persons to truth, dignity, and full human development. Okay, does that resonate with the work that you're doing? I mean, is that what we're doing? So last night I looked up all of the organizations that we've had here at Lunch and Learns, looked up all their mission statements, and talk about intersectional, you know, we're all doing the same work, right? I mean, basically, we're just, you know, manifesting it in different ways. And some of the words I picked out from the mission statements were just common: equality, hope, support, inclusion, dignity. Isn't that what we're about? You know, to provide that for those that we work with. Some other common themes were that we're all looking around where we are and responding to the needs of our times. That we're bringing hope to those on the margins, those on the edges of society. And I loved the Hollywood Food Coalition mission statement, which is to feed and serve the immediate needs of the hungry every day of the year so they can build better lives. And then their vision is of a city where everyone has food, community, and support. So beautifully stated. And yes, yeah. So just a quick little way that we are, as the Immaculate Heart community, how we're responding to the needs of the times. You can see, and you can see up here on the podium, we've created it's our vision, it's really our vision statement, that we are a doorway to presence. And I don't see it on, you can see it on here. We're calling it, we are a doorway to presence. So literally being present to the people we serve. And also as a spiritual community, calling on the presence of spirit in all the work that we do. So that's why we call it doorway to presence. And then did we take down the logo? I guess we did. Anyway, our logo, which is here on my pin, is, oh yeah, it's there. Good, thank you. Is that we chose, and this is some Karita font from something of hers, but that we are the door to the world. And that means both we open our hearts outwards and we welcome inwards through that door. So that's how we've chosen to kind of describe, you know, what we're doing in the world these days. And the vehicles that we're using are, we call them our commissions. And we have 5 commissions to address these topics and see if any of these resonate with you. So we have justice for the environment, right? Justice for women. We have a commission called Anti-Racism as Spiritual Transformation. Justice for immigrants, refugees, and indigenous people. And justice and community for the unhoused. So how we do that is, this is an example of one of the ways that our commissions work, is that we say we study, we act, we study, we pray, we act. So this is the study part. You know, we're learning about how we can serve, you know, those in need, and praying. So we invite everyone in their own, whatever their own faith community is. You know, we are a Christian ecumenical community, but we are open to all faiths, and that we all pray for guidance and support, and then act. So I'm going to ask you today, I'm taking the place of Sherry, our president. She usually does this welcome, but she always says, okay, look for 1 or 2 actual actions that you today or in the near future could do, you know, in relationship to Arnali and the Hollywood Food Coalition. So we always ask for each of our audiences to look for action to do. So I'd like to, as I said, on the table are papers. If you're interested in membership, we take new members every year. And but I'd like to finish with a reflection and share it with you as a prayer. And our community last year has anybody read Field of Compassion? Oh, it's so good. The whole community read it. We read it in our prayer groups, and we, you know, shared reflections about it. So this is a prayer for all of us from Field of Compassion. Compassion changes everything. Compassion heals. Compassion mends the broken and restores what has been lost. Compassion draws together those who have been estranged or never even dreamed they were connected. Compassion pulls us out of ourselves and into the heart of each other. This places us on holy ground where we instinctively take off our shoes and walk in reverence. So may we walk together in reverence and compassion. So Michelle is now going to share with you some upcoming activities.
So hello, welcome. I'm thrilled to see familiar faces and new faces, and you'll all be friends soon. First, little housekeeping: restrooms straight out that double door there, straight ahead. You'll see a sign. It's to your left. Sorry if I made you wait that long for that. Our next Lunch and Learn is June 21st, and we're going to have Kay Buck, who's the executive director of CAST, which is the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking. So if you haven't signed up to be on our email list, please do. We have really exciting things. And now I just want to talk a little bit about, oh, and one last thing. In July 20th, we're going to be at the LA Short Film Festival downtown at LA Live. And we've got a screening of 3 really impressive social justice films that I hope you will all be able to come and see. So again, another reason to sign up to be on our mailing list. I'm the newbie. I've been here a couple months. I learned a lot of everything of what I know about social justice and action through Alexandria House. And I'm honored to say to Judy, thank you for everything you've done for me. Elena is also here, my previous coworkers. But it's really where I learned how to do the work and close a mouth sometimes and just do the work. So thank you. A little bit about the magic that happens through human connection. So I was introduced to the Hollywood Food Coalition by a woman by the name of Chris Grant, who was their community and recipient specialist. And she was a force, a mighty presence who was filled with such love and a commitment to building community always. That was in her signature, always building community. We lost Chris earlier this year to cancer, and but she lives on in the work that we all do. And Hollywood Food Coalition has a special day of service in honor of Chris. And it's really touched my life and so many people's lives. So Hollywood Food Coalition feeds people, but not just their bodies. They understand that our connection with each other, with community, with art, and with the earth all need to be connected. I want to acknowledge Sherry Bonanno, who was my first connection through Chris to the Hollywood Food Coalition, another force. She was the first director of Hollywood Food Coalition, and she's been a critical voice in the community and a visionary for many years. Sherry started as a volunteer at Hollywood Food Coalition, did that for 20 years or so. Not volunteering, that's how I started at Alexandria House. So watch out, it's a slippery slope when you volunteer. But now just a little bit about our speaker, Arnali. So Arnali brings 14 years of experience in nonprofit social justice healthcare with a passion for helping others. Her career and her volunteering focused on helping the most vulnerable in our community so they have access to basic needs and vital services. Arnali is a founding member of Hollywood Forward, which is a coalition that was to drive creative systemic change to effectively address people who are without homes in Hollywood through advocacy, education, service, innovation, and food. Arnali's warm smile and loving heart makes everyone feel connected and valued. Thank you, Arnali. And without further ado, the last thing I'll say is action. It's about action. And we're going to do some action. So you'll join our mailing list. There are some amazing action things that we can do together. It's a great way to make friends and to really change the course of what's happening in our city and beyond. And I know that Rosa mentioned something that Carcerin is doing, collecting things for, not Carcerin, Clue is doing to help migrants who are really struggling to get their footing. And so we will send connections to all of these other events that are available through our newsletters. Okay, thank you. So Arnali, you're gonna do your thing. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Oh. All right, I have this interesting microphone on, so bear with me. It is so wonderful to be here, and I am so happy. I see so many familiar faces, but also a lot of new faces. So thank you so much for coming today and learning about us. You'll hear this wonderful theme of always building community again from Chris Grant, but it's really how we work and how we do everything here. But before we start, I just wanted to see if you could raise your hand if you currently already partner with Hollywood Food Coalition. Raise your hand. All right, great. And how many people, if you already, if you know of Hollywood Food Coalition, raise your hand. Great, that's great. Doing good, right, Asher? Where's Asher? Where is Asher? There he goes. And then how many of you don't know about Hollywood Food Coalition? Great. Well, welcome. So again, my name is Arnali Ray. I have been the executive director for just almost 2 years. I've been in the community for quite some time. I was previously at Saban Community Clinic, which was a federally qualified health center. And I was there for 14 years, started as a volunteer, and then ended up as staff. You'll see a theme here, so just beware. The work that I did there, some of the most, I think, important work to me was helping people who are experiencing homelessness get into services. And a lot of the work that I did was advocating, rallying around, and making sure that our voices were being represented. So fast forward to today, we are sharing so much great work. I learned about Hollywood Food Coalition just because I was very invested in the community, and I'm on the board of Hollywood Forward, which Steve, who's sitting there, raise your hand, is the board chair of. And I was really exciting watching this amazing work happen through Hollywood Food Coalition. They were small, but very nimble, had their ear to the ground, and I felt like was doing very exciting things. So you'll learn all about why I joined this wonderful organization. So, and then 2 other quick things before we start the presentation is I want to give a quick nod to Sherry Bonanno. Sherry, raise your hand. Sherry has been a wonderful mentor and a partner for us. She's trying to retire, but we've kept her on and continuing, but she's done a tremendous work, and she has run the organization. She ran the organization for over 20 years, did it for free for so many years, put so much blood, sweat, and tears, and the organization wouldn't have been what it was if it wasn't for her. So just everybody give her a round of applause. I also wanted to give thanks to Chris, as Michelle mentioned earlier, we lost Chris a few months ago. It was very hard for us, but her legacy lives on. We just celebrated her birthday and the day of service at our organization and brought our family members in, but she was so well loved and such a force of nature and really helped create our community exchange program, which you learned all about. So just wanted to mention that. And then also I want to thank Christine and Pam and Michelle for bringing us here today. Like we've known each other in the community. I've got to meet Christine, but we've already become, I feel, fast friends. But I am so grateful for them for bringing us here today and just continuing to do the work with us. So thank you very much. All right, so let me see if I know how to work this. Oh. There you go. Is it coming on? Technical difficulties, bear with me. Okay, Yep, slideshow. All right. Well, you'll see a lot of pictures. I like pictures on my slides rather than a lot of words. I always like to open up with the slide because it embodies who we are at the organization. So this is actually a picture of a baby shower for one of our staff members. And this is actually a mix of staff and regular volunteers. It's really special to see just how diverse our group is, the different generations that are represented. And we like to have a lot of fun. So you'll see that throughout being a theme. But Hollywood Food Coalition is unique. We actually use the climate crisis to solve the hunger crisis. We use food as a medium. For those that don't know, I'm a major foodie and I love food, and I've always believed in sitting and enjoying a meal with one another. It's how I grew up as an Indian, a family who comes from India. And it's very much part of the way that I was brought up. And so what I love about this organization is that's how we connect to individuals. We connect to them through food, through enjoying a meal, having a space. So again, you'll see that throughout. And let's see here. Am I doing something wrong? Okay. Anyways, so we will go to the next slide. Yeah. Well, I know our slides, so I can just start talking about it while we're waiting. I love efficiency, so I like to keep going. Actually, you have a question. It's not actually. This was in Sherry. Where was this park again? It's in Griffith Park. We were actually going to have it at one of our volunteers' homes, but then he got COVID, so we couldn't have it. And this was our backup, but we're very much a huge family over there. So, yeah. 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 Our base is in Hollywood. So we're based out of there, and I'll show. So anyways, I'll start talking about a little of our path. So I wanted to give you all a history of Hollywood Food Coalition. And so we actually started as a coalition of neighbors who got together and wanted to help the community. We actually answered a call to action from City of West Hollywood to feed people. And that's what we started doing. We got a box truck that we called, what was it called? The Toaster. And the Toaster drove around in Hollywood and we would feed people. And so that's what we actually did for over 20 years, is feeding people in the streets. We were called the Greater West Hollywood Food Coalition for a while. And then as time went on, we ended up dropping Greater West Hollywood. Yes. I love it. No, please ask as many questions. I love an interactive presentation. So it was like toast. Okay, great. So then in 2017, we were really excited because we were able to move into the Salvation Army campus in Hollywood. And that was a game changer for us. We were able to finally sit people down and enjoy a meal with them. And that really is the breadth of what we do. We connect over a meal. Oh, I thought we were going to get your visual. So we were in Salvation Army, and that was in 2017, and it was wonderful. And fast forward to 2020, the pandemic hit. And so, as you know, things shut down. We, at that point, were able to pivot what we were doing. That's one of the wonderful, great things about our organization, is that we're very nimble. And so we started going into a to-go model. And so essentially what we started doing was preparing meals, multi-course meals, putting them in to-go and sharing them. What was really unique and interesting is we take rescued food, and what rescued food is food that's deemed not well, but it's perfectly edible. And we rescue that from grocery stores, from all different organizations, and we use that to make food. And so what was happening is during the pandemic, businesses started reaching out to us and saying, we need to recover food. And so we want to make sure that we don't waste food. Can we donate it to you? And so essentially, we had nonprofits also reaching out to saying, how can we help? How can we start a food program? And so one of our programs were born. So despite having that, the pandemic hit, we were really able to make a pivot. Is the slide deck up yet? Oh, okay, great. Oh, here we go. Great. Okay. Yay. Okay. Sorry, this was my cue, so I was kind of ad-libbing at the time. So anyways, this is Coalition of Neighbors. This is our toaster truck that toast. This is when we were the Greater West Hollywood Food Coalition. And then here, this is exciting. This is like how we were making our meals. This is when we moved into Salvation Army and we hired a chef. I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. And so then, as I was mentioning, we had all this rescued food and we had nonprofits reaching out to us. So our community exchange was born. And here is where we decided to open this community exchange program where we bring in all this recovered food. And so that's kind of the next stage. This is kind of where we are right now. And basically where we are is we're at a very exciting point where we're embarking on two really exciting projects, which I'll share more about. But we're at a really great point right now. Yeah. Those two things are essentially the same. Yeah. But great question. So I won't read this again. I think Christine did a wonderful job in sharing this. Spoiler alert, we've revised our mission statement. And so we'll be launching that this summer. It's a little bit more comprehensive. This has been our mission statement for the last couple decades. And our new mission statement is a little bit more comprehensive of what we do. So stay tuned for that. All right, so here are 3 programs. We have our community dinner program, our community wellness program, and our community exchange program. Our community dinner program is our longest standing program. It's a service that we have 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and we have not missed a single night in 37 years. I'm very proud of that. It's obviously a very hard thing to do all the time, but it's much, much needed. And we have a lot of partners who provide services, food services regularly, but we are very proud of that fact that we can do it 7 days a week. So I guess what else is different about us is that it's a hot, nutritious meal. We welcome people in, we know people's names, we know their stories. We also offer choice. And so we have usually a meat option, a chicken option. We have a really great vegetarian option. And then if we get a fish in, we'll have a fish option or a shrimp option. And we actually have a professional chef that came from a Michelin star restaurant, worked at Four Seasons Catering. So have done many different things. And he's really able to uniquely come up with sauces and different ways to cook this meal. And I think that's really special. What I love about this dinner program is, for those that come and volunteer or have been to our programs, we are really striving to make people feel part of our community. I think right now it's really easy to have people feel like they don't belong or there's not invisible. It's a really difficult time. And that's where I think the piece of community is so important. And that's what I've been doing a lot of thinking about is how do we create a space where we invite people from all different walks of life to come as you are, right? So that will be a lot of what we're working towards. But our community dinner, you'll see a little bit about our impact, but we generally do about 250 to 300 meals a night. And we still serve on the weekends. We don't serve on the campus, but we serve in the streets still, and it's very much needed. So that's our community dinner program. We have our community wellness program was actually born out of the community dinner. Because we are open when everyone else is closed, and because we've built this trust and it's very low barrier, folks often share with us their needs outside of food. And so what we notice is rather than turning people away, like we wanted to say, like, how else could we help? So I think initially it started more as like, donating hygiene supplies and donating clothing, but we realized that we had a real opportunity to connect them back into services. And so essentially, that's how the wellness program was created. We have a wonderful program manager, and Asher, who's sitting back there, runs our wellness program. It was created out of having conversations with our guests and with our partners, and identifying needs. And we have UCLA Mobile Clinic, who's been our longest standing partner. They come on site every Wednesday night and provide urgent care triaging services. They bring physical therapy, they bring optometry. We also have HIV screening. We've also brought on additional partners, both for housing, we have Department of Mental Health. So it's really a one-stop shop. And what I can say, like one powerful story I can think of is I was on site one Wednesday, and there was a woman who came on site, and she had actually come because at Salvation Army, there's an access center, which is to kind of help link you up to services. And the access center had just closed. So she was sitting crying on the corner, and, our security guard came up to me and said, she's really upset. Can you go and talk to her? And so I did. And I went over to her, learned about her story, but essentially she had come over from another state and had been fleeing domestic violence and had a whole host of issues. And she had never been on the streets of Hollywood. And immediately I was just heartbroken because I'm like, how is this woman? She's not going to survive on the streets of Hollywood. Like, it's too scary. So long story short, we connected her with our manager at the time, and we reached out to our network. We got her put into temporary shelter, and got her into a motel for the night. Fast forward, there were a lot of different challenges we had to overcome, but we hung in with her. I mean, I can say that Asher has done so much incredible work with her, building the relationship, going to help her when we had to bring her from one housing placement to another, sitting with her when things were really uncomfortable. But I'm really proud to say that now she's in a longer term housing unit, and she's working very closely with our program manager. She did art the other day. They went to a community. So it's been happening for a long time, and it's really beautiful. But that's really the power of the work that we do in the community, is being able to like understand and kind of walk with them through that. So I like to share stories because I think it helps bring more concreteness to what we do. And then finally, our last program is the community exchange program. And as I mentioned to you, that started during the pandemic. We are now in a renovated pawn shop on Vine Street. The great things about being nimble is creating, and Sherry's done a wonderful job. She actually helped us get a huge walk-in fridge, which was a game changer for us. So we can bring on tons and tons more of pallets. But we have over 600 partners that we work with. Many of these businesses are like Charlie's Produce, Food Forward. We've got John's. We've got all these different, and local bakeries. Like, we have all sorts of partners that give us food. And then we also have recipient partners, so nonprofits and small organizations that we give food to. So those are part of our partners. But we've created, I think what's different about us in a traditional food bank is we were created really for the smaller organizations. And what I love about it is that the smaller organizations, they come from the communities that we serve and often don't have the resources to be able to sort through this food, to be able to think about this. So that is really something that's really unique and special about our program. Additionally, we care about the climate, we care about sustainability. Our system allows us to customize the order. Sometimes when you do go to larger food banks, you're not able to like ask for what you want, and then you end up passing on the waste. And so for us, we really try to match it as closely to the needs as possible. And I'll be sharing more about our exciting new project around that, but it's been a really interesting and very new for me in learning about food recovery. But I think something about this that speaks to my heart is that again, my family's from India, and there were so many hungry people, and we were taught never to waste food. And so coming here and looking in Hollywood and saying, there are starving people, there is just a plethora of food. How do we marry these two things? And so I think having this type of program has really elevated all of our programs. All right, and lastly, this isn't a program, but it really is like the fabric in how we do things, is our volunteers in our building community. Volunteering remains at the core of what we do. Like, we really couldn't have gone before. All the volunteers used to run our programs, and so truly we couldn't have done it. We now have 28 staff members, which I'm very excited about, but still a lean, mean team. But having our volunteers is not just about doing the work, it's also about learning the work, it's about activating, it's about educating, it's about championing some of these efforts. I mean, some of the things that we work on are so complex and complicated, and there's so much nuance that like having them involved in talking to people at our organization is a way to get people more activated. And then obviously we believe that all this lasting change happens through building trust in our community. What was really funny is earlier on, I have one of our new board members here, Susanna, raise your hand for a second. She was asking me how it seems like everyone's interconnected and how does everyone know each other? And I said, well, we have similar values. And this is the community, and I think a lot of the work that we pride ourselves on doing, and coming from when Sherry was running the organization and to passing it on to me, is that we can't do this work alone, and working with one another and also building community with people that might not share the same opinions as you. I think we're in a period of time where we're less tolerant of people that have different viewpoints and less tolerant. I know for me, sometimes it's like, you just want to be around people who share and think the same way as you. But I think we all know that change does not happen unless you work with people who think differently than you. And so really, I think that this is such an important piece. And it's what I love also about Immaculate Heart, is that they really, they work with the community, they build these programs in the community, and then these programs sometimes launch on their own. But that's going to be a really critical piece to all the work that we're doing. Okay, so this is just our impact from last year, just to give you an idea of the volume. Last year, we rescued over 2.5 million pounds of food, which is incredible. We actually got a new refrigerated van, a refrigerated truck, so that's really helped us to elevate. We have over 600 partner organizations, like I mentioned, so that's both our partners that donate to us and then the partners who receive from us. Last year, we served 91,000 meals. Yeah, that's a big one. And as you know, from the pandemic, post-pandemic, we are experiencing such high food insecurity, and we are seeing more and more people show up at our doors, and also more newly unhoused individuals showing up at our doors. So that's how dire it is. And then lastly, we have so many volunteers. We've done over 5,800 volunteer hours, and it's really sort of how we get things done at our organization. And just to give you an idea, since a lot of our programs started in 2020, our exchange program has grown and increased by 173%. And our dinner service has increased by 40%, just to put in perspective. Okay, so what's on the horizon? This is my exciting things. I love new projects, and I love having a vision that we can execute. And for me, I'm all about systemic change and how we're going to make this happen. So the first thing we're doing is around our community exchange program. So we're a small organization. We're based here right now in Hollywood, and we love working with our partners. We also know that it's really hard, for those of you that run an organization, parts of organization, it's hard to scale up when you're a small organization. What I'm really excited to say is we have decided to explore or start having conversations with 3 other organizations. Those organizations are Polo's Pantry, which is mutual aid. We have Asian Pacific Island Forward Movement, which does a wonderful amount of services to that population. And then we have Farm to People, which helps small farmers get food out to the markets. And so we have decided to join forces, not to become one, but be saying that we all want to remain individual organizations, but we can do this better together. So we are in the process for looking for a space that we can share, a physical space. And we're going to talk about how we might have a cooperative where we're sharing equipment, sharing staff, sharing resources. But again, we just believe in the power, the collective power that we hold together. And for us, it's so important to be able to serve the populations that we serve because one, most of us are from the communities that we serve. And so we want to continue to have our communities design the programs that we offer. And 2, again, like we can't compete with some of the larger organizations. And so for us to get together, it only makes sense. And some of this has been done, more in the for-profit arena. And I think for us, we are saying, how do we be creative in like thinking this through? LA County had done a strategic plan, and this is one of the ideas that they've talked about wanting to do, but it's obviously hard. It can be hard and complicated and difficult to manage these negotiations. But we're embarking on that work. We just received a grant and we're starting those exploratory conversations. So I think this will give us really great power to work with the farmers. And that will be really a treat because we're going to have a loading dock, hopefully, and be able to bring farm level donations, which will also diversify our dinner service. So stay tuned for that kind of information. And this is a really, really exciting project, and the one that I've been most excited to tell you about. It's actually the project that got me to Hollywood Food Coalition. So it's called the Refectorio Los Angeles, and I just put on there, refectorio comes from the Latin word refecere, meaning to remake, also to restore. Back in 2021, at the end of 2021, we partnered with an organization called Food for Soul, which was started by the celebrity chef Massimo Bottura. He created this refectorio model all around the world, and basically it's a community hub with a restaurant in the center. And so the idea is that you're bringing a wonderfully plated, seated dining meal in a beautifully designed restaurant. And so they have partners all around the world, and we've been chosen to be the LA partner. So we're really excited for that. I actually threw a couple of pictures up here of some of our partners. So up here is the refectorio in London. It's in a church that they've renovated, and it's quite beautiful. And it's actually one of the ones that I enjoy watching on Instagram because they've got a lot of creative programming. This one I believe is either from Merida or one of the other ones. And then this one is the refectorio in Paris. Every single one of the refectorios have a different feel. They serve slightly different populations, but it is really so wonderful to be part of a learning network around the world of folks who share similar values, right? Like you see different groups doing it. So we are very excited about opening one in Los Angeles. And so we're just starting to embark on that project. And so anyways, this is just to kind of give you a sense of what the movement is about. It's a global movement. It's all about social inclusivity, restoring dignity, zero food waste, bringing communities together to give them the tools to thrive, connecting people across the world, and then just promoting a just food system. And so a lot of the work that the team internally has been working to like figure out how we might design the space so that there is community and connection that's happening. What I think is really exciting is our programming is at night every single day, but there's an opportunity to have other programs come on site during the day. And so we've been talking about, are there other activities like purposeful activities, whether it's involving arts and cultural programming, and also, teaching people how to, whether it's to cook, to do all these things. So it's really a very exciting opportunity for us. And I just love the idea that we can bring people in to have this very dignified meal in a beautiful space. So we're extremely excited about it. And I think there's a really, it's a great time to start having people learn more about it so that they can be part of this process with us. And lastly, sorry about the off with the formatting, but we would love to have more of you come partner with us, join us, volunteer with us. We have really great volunteer groups and it's a lot of fun. And so we have some QR codes. So if you want to connect with us, you have a QR code. If you want to donate to us, we have a QR code. And then obviously we would love to have you volunteer with us. Our information is all on our website as well. It's very easy. We're very low barrier for volunteering as well. So please come join us. We would love to have you. And here's just the last group we had. I like to also share this slide too, because we had Trey from the Rams. I think he's on a new team now, but he came and what was really cool about this is that he loved volunteering with us, but he was nominated for the Walter Payton Award, and they actually gave him, he was told about the nomination at our program. So that was a really special time. So I would love to answer any questions, if anybody has any. Yes.
Joking. I'm only joking. This is a really exciting project, the Refectorio. I'm fascinated by the idea. Did you say that you're looking for space, or you're still looking? Do you know that it's going to be in your location in Hollywood? Is that where you're looking?
I think ideally for us, we'd love to be in Hollywood. We know that the cost of real estate is expensive, so we're scoping out a couple of different areas, but we are rooted in Hollywood, even though our exchange program has like a wider swath across LA County. But we would love to be, in or around Hollywood. We're actually doing a couple of needs assessments right now. We're doing a market analysis, but we have a lot of wonderful partners, and we've been based here for so long that I think for us, it would be a dream come true to be around here. I have a question right there. Yeah, back there. Yeah.
A quick comment and then a question.
Yeah.
Listening to you, it reminds me of growing up, and my grandmother used to teach us, donde come uno, comen todos. Where one person eats, everyone eats. And that there is a history of that mentality in Los Angeles. Clifton's Cafeteria, originally made where everyone could come in during the Depression and eat. And they had beautiful surroundings to be able to eat. Angela's Temple, that did huge food giveaways during the Depression. My question, with partnerships with other groups, especially for the I'm sorry, I speak Spanish, but not Italian. Are you looking specifically for real estate that your organization can buy, or are you looking for sites?
We're actually exploring both options. I think for us, we are generally looking between 5,000 to 7,000 square feet. But we're exploring all of the options right now.
Right now, the community is active with an organization called CLUE, and I attend their meetings, and that's Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. And some of the people in there are like pastors of huge churches like Emmanuel Presbyterian on Wilshire, right? And they've got room. So if you are interested in like collaborating together at the next meeting, I could bring it up if you send me some information.
Okay, let's definitely connect.
Okay.
I love that. And by the way, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it is so important to take care of our community, and I think in LA, it's interesting. You've got a lot of people who have that same mindset, and then there's been a little bit of a divide, but that's some of the conversations that I hope that we can remember is like, we're all humans, we're all connected, we're all part of this community, and we have to take care of one another.
Hi, Carmela from Safe Parking LA. I think one of our founders, Emily, would be very happy if I took a selfie with you and Asher. But that's not why I got the mic. So I'm really curious to hear about your collaboration with those two other smaller nonprofits. You know, this idea of we're not merging, we're keeping our individual identities as organizations, but really thinking through collaboration and kind of resource pooling. So how long has that been in formation? So how long did it take you to get here? And did you notice that you were attracting support from other institutions and funders because of your collaboration? What kind of resources did that open up for you when the three of you decided to join forces?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much. And we love Emily, and love safe parking. So what's interesting is that, like, when you start working sort of informally or working towards the same work, you get a sense of sort of one another. I actually met Asian Pacific Island Forward Movement and Farm to People through a mutual funder that we have. There was some gatherings, and we recognized that we had some shared interests and we had similar needs. And with Polo's Pantry, we had been working with them for a while on a number of different things. And so when we had started talking about moving into a new space, that's when the conversation sort of escalated. And you realize, like, you go from like thinking about like just a dream to like, what it might look like in actuality, you know? And I was saying, one person from Asian Pacific Island Forward Movement says, well, we don't need a space 7 days a week, and we need it 2 days a week, but we actually have a van that we don't need every day. I wonder if someone else could use it. And so as we started to talk things out, and I would say we'd been talking for probably about a year, informally. And finally I said, hey, I think it's time to get together. We're ready to move into our next space. And we just received a grant for moving into this next space. Let's talk. And then I started kind of reaching out to different funders, and then Nonprofit Sustainability Initiative just funded us to have the exploratory conversation. So we are bringing in a consultant who will then explore this conversation. And I think the dream for us is that we create a model that can be replicated in other communities, right? Like, we don't want people to have to travel, 20 miles to come get our delicious meals. We want them to be able to get it. As you know, LA has so much traffic, and it's hard to get places. So like, how do we make sure other communities are building, a program for themselves? So our dream would be to provide this template that they could basically take and then replicate. So thank you so much for the question. Yes, Judy?
Hi, and first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing Chris and Hollywood Food Coalition. And I think maybe you don't even know the impact that you have with groups you've collaborated with, because we started working with you during COVID, and we started with 1 day a week distributing food in our neighborhood in Koreatown, Little Bangladesh, to now we do 7 days a week. Got a solar refrigerator in our front yard, and people can come by anytime. I think my question to you is how you continue to help people understand the food scarcity that is impacting so many families throughout each one of our community. And how do you model incorporating systemic change awareness, or the awareness for the need to address this issue, especially in such models of relationality and dignity and respect?
That's a really great question. Thank you so much, Judy. And it's so wonderful to hear. I mean, we love Alexandria House. Alexandria House does incredible work. We go there, we see everything that happens, and we're so glad that the food has been helpful and impactful and really helping, folks stay fed and happy and healthy. I think, I think you have two questions in there. One of the questions is around, I'm thinking about the systemic. Sorry, can you clarify your questions for me again? One was around how do you educate people essentially?
How do you continue to raise awareness around how food scarcity is impacting so many families?
Yeah.
Including those living in encampments, but also folks in our neighborhood that Elena can speak to that are really struggling to put food on their table for their kids with the rising costs.
Yeah, I think like at our organization, obviously a lot of the work that we do is like by conversation on a micro level at our programs. I think what we are looking to do is starting to do more formal education. So we have brought on climate fellows, which has been great. And so they've really helped us starting to create presentations that we can share that makes the connections of kind of what we do and how it fits into the bigger picture. What I like to say is what I like about our organization is that we're kind of doing it through the life cycle. We started as an organization that is, we're essentially doing some reactive work, right? We're helping to feed people who have already are down and out. I think our strength is creating that community exchange program, which really is helping to keep people in their housing now, right? Cost of living is super high. People spend a lot of money on groceries. I mean, I know my grocery bill has like tripled. And so if we can help people divert foods they would spend on a lot of quality groceries and put it towards their bills, we think that we're doing, something more. We're also participating in a lot more advocacy and policy discussions. I think we're at a really critical point in our, just what we're doing is it's being recognized as being an issue. And we know that it's an imperative thing to solve to keep people healthy. So how do we tackle that? And I know that the county is actually creating an Office of Food Equity. They're trying to hire a staff member. I know that it's being talked about. There is a lot of policy changes. There's a state initiative called CalAIM, and there are some initiatives under that help support food efforts. I think part of what the work that we need to do is continuing to support these bills and educating one another on the importance, because really food is the basic necessity that we need in order to have relationships, to have a job, to remain healthy. And making sure that we have culturally relevant food for folks is incredibly important. So I think there's a lot of policy advocacy work that we'll continue to do, but I think part of the role that we will play is doing the education through our volunteer services and our volunteer programs. Anybody else? Oh, great, yes.
Okay, so Cynthia asks, she would like to know if the coalition's currently collects food donations through drives from local schools, and if not, she's interested in helping to expand and coordinate that.
Wonderful. Yes, we actually do. We've worked with several different schools. I know we've done a few different programs. And then we just did a food drive with the Postal Service recently. So we love partnering, and we would love to partner with you. So Michelle will connect us. So somebody will connect us. But we would love to do that with you.
Anyone else?
We did it for the month of May. Yeah, we did the Stamp Out and Hunger. Oh, thank you so much. All right, if there isn't any more questions and there's nothing else on Zoom, I want to thank you so much for listening to me today and asking wonderful questions and being part of my community. I look forward to connecting with you. Please come and volunteer with us. We would love to have you. Oh. Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll send out a recording and you can go on our website. There are previous events that you can watch everything from so many topics that we've had. So really interesting and really relevant. And Rosa, I screwed up the name of the organization. So it is Clue. We'll include that in an email that's going out. And one thing that really struck me, Arnali, was about choice. And that's something that really I value in a conversation. It's not you get what's left, but you honor people by giving them the best and giving them what they choose. So I know a lot of people chose the tuna salad today. Chef Tim is famous for it. But thank you all. You all do amazing work. I do want to acknowledge my coworkers. Like I said, I'm a newbie here and I have just been embraced with such love and support, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you everybody in tech and helping behind the scenes and just keeping their candy bowls full. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.